Today on Only Plants, we're going to talk about field tools for botany. And we're going to start with the understanding that you don't have to invest a lot of money to be good at plants because they're all around you all the time. So there are a few simple tools that you'll need to get in order to be able to identify them with the tools that are given to you in the form of books, an ID, dichotomous keys out in the woods, or with any sort of app that you're using. So the first one is sometimes you're going to have to look at plant parts at a higher magnification. And you could get something like this, you know, home microscope. Those are only like 80 bucks. And it's really good. It hooks up to your phone. You can zoom in like, I don't know, a million X and see plant parts, although it's bulky to take out in the woods with you. So the first thing that I recommend getting are hand lenses, and hand lenses come in a variety of different strengths. So uh, they come in a 10x, and they're also called jeweler's loupes. They come in 10x, 20x. They go pretty high sometimes. For the purposes of plants, though, a 10x and a 20x will usually get you what you need to be able to see. Now, in the field, I generally don't use a 10x very often. I use the 20x more than I use the 10x, only because it does magnify it, tenfold. So I can see things, and it takes a little bit getting used to. Now, when you use these in the woods, you don't want to do, I see people do this all the time. When they're looking at something, they do this type of thing where they hold it out in front of them. What you want to do is put it up to your eye and then bring in as close as you can the thing that you're trying to look at so that you can see it up close. So if you're doing it like this, from far away, you can't see what you need to see that way. So, you always want to put it up to your eye and then zoom in until you focus on what you're trying to look at. Now, these are made by a company called Bellomo. And the reason why I got these, I've never used any other one. The reason why I got these is they're a triple lens. So they have three lenses on the inside, and so it makes it a really clear, precise picture when you're looking through it up close. And you need that to be able to tell like if hairs are a certain length or if they're hooked or all types of little things that are really hard to differentiate if it's not a clear picture of what you're looking at. So I do have a 10 and a 20x Belomo hand lens. I just recently bought a 30x. This 30x is a lot smaller. This one is made by, I don't actually know, I don't know where I bought this, but it was pretty cheap. It wasn't very expensive, but it gives me that extra tenfold increase now again over the 20. And so there are a few species that I will be using this for this summer just to be able to tell. So I don't have to like take a sample home, wonder, and then use that when I get home to figure it out. Although it is fun to look through things with that magnifying glass. So I have upped to three hand lenses now. So a 10, a 20, and a 30. The 30, this was, Belomo doesn't make a 30. So I had to get this other company's 30x, and it is still a triplet, so it has that triple glass in there, so it is pretty clear. And they're smaller, relatively smaller than, maybe the glass is probably the same, but it just looks like a smaller hand lens. So they do make little tiny ones of these that are like the lenses like a size of an eraser head. I've never tried to use one of those. I see them on people's, lanyards sometimes. They seem really tough to figure out what's going on. The next thing you're going to need when looking through dichotomous keys is something to measure plant parts with. So oftentimes it will say like the perigynia of this Carrick species is, 5 millimeters long or 5 millimeters wide. You're going to need to know how or what 5 millimeters looks like. So this right here I purchased, and it's like I think they use it for measuring eyebrows or something. I don't know. I've never had my eyebrows done, but I got them off Amazon maybe for like, I got 10 or 20 of them for like a couple bucks. So I lost my original one that I had, but this one is all sectioned out in millimeters. And so you can see it has, it goes up to 7 millimeters there. And then it's a caliper, so you can open this out measure parts, and it'll give you a pretty accurate reading for exactly how wide or long something. And of course, I don't always remember these when I'm in the woods, so I ended up getting a tattoo on my finger that I can measure certain plant parts with. So if I don't want to take this out of my bag, I can just throw that plant part up on my finger and get a rough idea. Sometimes the difference between two species, a rare one and a common one, is a couple millimeters of length on some certain part. So if I'm walking through the woods real fast and I see things, I can just look at it real quick and I don't have to spend a lot of time digging something out. But these are really handy to have. Other people will use a little, flat ruler, measuring ruler to do that. And whenever you take photos, so if you're taking photos for iNaturalist or whatever, and you're trying to show that a particular species based on these characteristics is the species, you need to take your photos with that plant part against a ruler. So somebody's going to want to be able to see that the Periginia is, less than 2 millimeters long versus something that's bigger than 2 millimeters. So putting it up against this before you take the photo is really valuable, because even when you're trying to re-identify something or you forget, you can have that scale in the photograph so that when you look through a key later or you're comparing two different things, you have that as a reference point so that you can you know positively identify. The other thing is, in a notebook that you would have in the woods with you, usually in the back here, if you get in a pinch, there are centimeter lines top here. And so you can use those, put a plant part against that, take a photo of it. Or if you wanted to put the plant, in the foreground and take a photo of it that way so that you can see how tall it is or whatever. So that's a good thing to use in a pinch if you don't want to get a tattoo or you don't have your eyebrow measurement tool with you. You can use a notebook. Now these are write in the rain notebooks, so they're waterproof. I tend to write in, all kinds of permanent marker, pen. I usually use a black permanent marker or at least some kind of Sharpie that I would have out in the woods with me because I can write anything on it. The other thing that's valuable to have is a pencil because if you're writing in the rain, the pencil won't smudge and you can actually continue to use it. So I like mechanical pencils for that. I usually have like five or six with me just in case I lose them. I tend to like this Pentel 9.9 millimeter brand. I have some other ones too that I like. These ones here are pretty fun to take out in the woods. This is made by Pentel as well. So there's a bunch of different mechanical pencils that I use. I don't like the ones that you have to sharpen. So like this type of pencil, because if you break it in the woods, you have to sit down and sharpen it. So I like the mechanical one for that, and I just have enough backups that I can't, run out of lead or anything like that. So those are the big, botanical tools you need for the woods. You need a hand lens of some kind, at least a 10x. You can get both of them, a 10 and a 20x. A measurement tool of some kind, whether it's an eyebrow measurer or a finger tattoo or your notebook with a ruler in it, and then your phone to take photographs. You always want to be taking photographs and be taking good photographs with measurements in it, up close pictures with, blown up under 20x so that you can see different things. A notebook to take down notes in, as well as some kind of GPS device. So, luckily, everyone who has a smartphone these days, all of those photographs get geotagged. It should get geotagged. You can turn it on and off. So, most of them do get geotagged automatically when you upload them to iNaturalist. It gives you a location for that. But I take this out into the woods with me just as a backup. If I have to take tracks of where I went that day or anything like that, I can record it with this. I also have another higher grade GPS device that I take out for actually mapping in the woods, because I have to report that in some way. The other things that you could have out in the woods with you are like rare plant lists, so you can like cross-reference things, know what's listed in what state, and all of that should be accessible on your cell phone. You can just go on the internet and grab that while you're out there. And I think that's about it. So it's a really low entry point. So we're talking like 100, $200 to get started with everything that you would need, minus the books, which you don't need right away to do plant identification. You get all that stuff online. And so it's pretty cheap to get out there and start looking at plants and identifying stuff and finding really cool things out there. So stick with me while I go through this YouTube channel for the winter and into the spring. In the spring, we're going to start doing some field surveys. I'll take you with me as I do those, and we'll be identifying plants in the field as we see them. Also, probably using dichotomous keys to actually key out plants in the woods and positively identify them. So you'll be able to hopefully watch this channel and learn a little bit about your surrounding landscape and how to identify things and how I look at things, as well as some natural history things and landscape use history observations while we're out there. So subscribe if you can. I appreciate it. It's going to help me get this out to more people. And thanks for watching.